All right, guys, we're back for another episode of Talking Preps. We're going into what round are we going into, Dale? Chris is not here. Help me out.
Now, yeah, it's not week now.
I said round. Didn't I say round?
Exactly.
Round 5.
Wow.
Round 5.
Yes,
okay.
5.
We got Hough AD Derek Butler joining us. We're going to talk about, obviously, the Hough-West Charlotte game. We're also going to talk about media access, and that's been an issue all year, but especially this past week. So we'll get back to all that on the backside of this. All right, Mr. Ross, since Chris isn't here, I'm dropping the question to you. What caught your eye Friday night?
2 things. First one was kind of mentioned in the, I think in the highlight people are here, and that was the Northern Guilford Ashbrook. Really had an eye-opening to a defense that I've seen play that is very good, give up a lot of points. I knew Northern Guilford was good, but
yeah.
And the other thing, Langston, I had a question about Independence and whether they would be able to handle the physicality of Weddington. That was their problem 2 years ago. And from what I can tell, Independence passed. So
they had the ball. They had the ball down 8, backed up, but they had the ball down 8 in the fourth quarter. So had they been able to bust a big play, put together a drive, they had a chance. It's just those twins are so good. They were just in the backfield. They had a big sack on that drive, and I think the Independence went for it on the 4th down, about their 22-23. I don't know which twin got the sack, but one of them got the sack, and then Weddington went and scored like 24 seconds left to make it 21-6. So it was a much closer game than if you just looked at the score, what you thought. Independence is a young team. You know, we were talking on the Players of the Week show, we were talking about how many sophomores there are around the state. And Coach Butler, you got a bunch of sophomores at Hough. So I think, you know, it's going to be football in Charlotte is just going up. You know, it's going to be really crazy where we're headed. But speaking of West Charlotte and Hough, I did want to get your thoughts. We'll start, Gary. I was shocked that West Charlotte got shut out Friday against Hough. I thought they missed a couple plays early, could have gotten scores, and maybe who knows what happens after that. But Hough put together a complete all-around game offensively and defensively. They out-physical West Charlotte. They really got after the quarterback, Jamore Nichols, who's up for Mr. Football. It was just a dominant performance.
Yeah, I was surprised at the margin of victory. I wasn't surprised that Hough won. You remember last week I picked Hough to win, but I did so based on special teams. I thought everything else would be even. And, you know, a special teams play did break the game open because the first quarter was scoreless, but West Charlotte had a long snap go over the punter's head, and that set Hough up in great field position, and they went on and capitalized with a touchdown. But I think the margin of victory is what surprised me, not that that Hough won. I thought Hough would win. You know, I've said all along, and I'll continue to say it, that the details in West Charlotte's special teams, as well as some of their, you know, their you know, we talked about staffs, and I said last week I thought Hough had a better staff. Now, if you want to match up coach to coach, yeah, Griner can coach with anybody. But the staff that Coach Baker has around him is elite. I mean, it's elite. And that frees him up to just call the game and manage the game and not have to, you know, he can turn it over to the best defense coordinator in North Carolina and Chachi Sullivan. Apologies, Nick Drew, but it's Chachi Sullivan. Okay. So, you know, he can turn it over and he doesn't have to worry about that part of the team. So, you know, like I said, I wasn't surprised that Hough won. What I was surprised was the margin of victory.
Dale.
Well, Chachi, Chachi really let me hear about it. The win was dominating, Langston. It's one of the most dominating wins I've seen there wasn't a, you know, I it's hard to explain, Langston. This was just a solid win by
Well, explain it.
Huff.
Explain it.
I
Use your
think
words.
Gary. Well,
use your
I
big boy
think
words.
Gary. You're right. I think Gary's correct. And what some of the things that the special teams did for them, Gary, if you remember, West Charlotte had one after a reception of a punt. You know, they're down inside their 10-yard line in 5, if I remember correctly. So there were a lot of there was flipping of the field, but the physicality.
It was hidden yardage. It's not like long drives, but when you punt back and forth, you're trying to gain yards on each subsequent possession.
Right.
I think there was.
So I think the biggest thing that I noticed in the game was that in the first half it was really played really close, but in the second half, and we asked Coach Baker about this Friday night, they made adjustments, and in the second half, Huff really opened up. Their running game showed up. That was a fantastic play, by the way. We have hopefully I think a good run will be shown right here. Langston, it was just a good solid win. When I say dominating, watch this run. He didn't get to finish it, but man, what a great
one
run.
later on in the second half to put the game away.
He had a great ball game. I thought he played well. Just a really good ball game. I think West Charlotte he had a hard time with that front seven, and I think everybody knew that was going to be a tough point for or that would be a strong point for Huff. And give West Charlotte credit. They played tough in the first half, but Coach Baker said they made the adjustments with the way they ran the ball in the second half, and that really played the difference. And I did not expect a shutout. So,
well, Coach Butler, I want to get. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They laughed at me, Langston, because I did the little coin thing.
You did the coin thing.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be close, and I did think it was going to be close. And anybody that thought about that game had to think that was going to be a close game.
You know who didn't think it was going to be close?
Chachi.
No, they didn't.
Not a single. Told me.
No, Chachi.
He told me before the game on the field. He told me it was not going to be close, and he was right.
Well, Coach Butler, what do you think of the game? Watching it as an administrator over there.
I was just proud of my kids. My kids battled. They listened to all the noise, all the talking, all the pregame antics. We just soak all that in and we just battle. So I was just proud of my kids. I'm proud of my kids, proud of my coaching staff. Like you said, Coach Baker is one of the best in the state. Coach Chachi is the best in the state, if not one of the best. So we just played hard. I'm just proud of them. Just very proud of my kids.
Yeah, we had heard some things about tickets and locker rooms for West Charlotte. Was there an issue with getting them sufficient numbers of tickets and locker room access at halftime?
Langston, I'm so glad you asked that question. I've heard all the rumors. I've heard it all. So let's just be clear. I'll put it all out on the table right now. Every playoff game, we have offered 10 tickets to the opposing team, 10 comp tickets. Now, if it wasn't enough, their ADs would have reached out and say, hey, we need 5 or 6 more tickets. Can you accommodate that? No problem at all. Nobody asked us for extra tickets. So we gave the 10 tickets that we always give. Nobody said it was an issue to me. So we didn't know anything about people needing extra tickets. Now, regarding the locker room, nobody ever asked us about a locker room. So I was never requested upon me to give a locker room. But Friday afternoon, Coach Baker did receive a call from one of the assistant coaches at West Charlotte and asked why they weren't given a locker room. Baker told him, nobody requested a locker room from us, and Coach Butler is not going to put anybody in a dirty locker room. So I make sure our custodial staff deep cleans our visitor locker room before we put any team in it. Obviously, it was Black Friday. We didn't have a custodial staff there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's why they didn't have a locker room, because they didn't request a locker room.
Is it just not standard practice to have the locker room for the visitors? I don't know.
Not necessarily. So the locker room that we use for our visitors is our PE locker room.
Yeah.
So our gym class used it on Wednesday, and obviously we weren't in school Thursday or Friday, so we weren't, we just didn't have it deep cleaned. So standard practice for the playoffs is, if you want a locker room, you ask for a locker room. It's not just necessarily given to you.
Fair enough. But I want you to hang around for a second, Coach, but I did want to give a little bit of shout out to the sophomore running back. I got to find the video. Jamarion Morrison, they call him Boogie, had 120 yards of rushing and that big carry in the fourth quarter. And we talked to him after the game.
Obviously a big win for you guys. Second half offense really opened up, and you're a big part of that.
Yes, sir. I just want to say shout out to my whole line, man. They came out, they handled business all night. They made sure I was doing my job. They were making sure I stayed safe all night, and I just can't do nothing without them. Let's go get that ring.
When y'all scored that third touchdown, it seemed to really kind of break the game open. Did you feel that way?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I had a lot of pressure on me, so I knew I had to make something happen. I knew if I made something happen, then the team was going to follow my back, so we had to get that win.
Obviously, Hough has been trying to get the state championship a long time. How special does this feel?
I feel great, man, to be the first person to ever make it to the state championship in Hough history, and I'm proud of my team.
All right. Gary, you made a point.
I just realized that kid was in my driver's ed class this summer, too.
Small world. Coach Butler, Gary made a point Friday night. He said, you guys got to be careful that you don't win the state championship in the regional championship round. Is that something that you guys are discussing over there? Is it we do have another game to play and West Charlotte was the state championship?
So I try to stay out of all that. You know, I'm not a micromanaging AD. I let my coaches coach. So the conversation that I did have with Coach Baker this past week was let's not look past West Charlotte thinking this is our state championship. You know, we got 2 games to play. We got 2 complete games to play. So was my message to him, and I left it at that.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think Gary makes a good point. I think that's a good point as well. Before we let you go ahead.
I think the important thing is you have a bye, so they can get all that back-patting out of the way this week. Everybody can pat them on the back all week long, and then they can game preparation. Millbrook.
I will say this though. I asked my buddy Ethan Royal to come on the show today. You know, he's always been telling me we're going to talk soon. So I said, it's time to talk now. He said, no, I'm going to wait till I state championship game. I want to keep my mind focused and my head clear. I thought that was a pretty mature response. So that's that. But Coach Butler, we've been talking in the chat throughout the season, and even more so even when Gary and we host the basketball show as well, with this media access issue in high school sports. I go to basketball games and I see like just rows and rows of people on the baseline, most of them very, very young. I was at the state championship basketball game a couple years ago, and my 40-year experienced photographer was on his knees on a table because they literally had 237. That's a real number, photographers at the game. And none of them were like, professional media. They're just there to do Instagram, whatever it is they're doing. And I think it's a safety issue. I remember Chambers had the issue a couple years ago where you're supposed to stop at whatever that yard line is, 35, whatever it is, and there's a line of people from there to the end zone. And Dale's running into this issue as well. People don't understand, protocol down there. You can get run over, you can get cleated, any kind of thing can happen to you. Explain to people how many media credential requests you had this week and how did you handle it? Because I know everybody, including some of my guys, weren't happy with what happened.
Yeah, so it's so funny that you said that number of 237 at the state championship. Previous Friday, when we were playing West Forsyth, before the clock hit 0, I had 3 media requests for the following week already. By the time lunchtime came on Friday, we had 233 media requests. Kids as young as 11 years old reaching out. So anybody with a camera these days feels like they're media. That's not how it works, So to answer your question, how we handled it, we sat down with administrators, found out what a good safe number of people would be, and we allowed 32. So we allowed 32 media personalities and media personnel to come cover our game on the field on Friday. Now, 32 might not sound like a big number, but it's a lot of people. Like each company had about 3 to 4 people with them trying to get every angle, all the things. And to kind of figure out who we were going to allow in, if you've covered our games throughout the year, you have first priority. There's been some media personalities, some of your guys, like you said, have reached out and said, oh, we've covered Hough. Only game they've ever covered was the Bank of America game. So, I mean, if you can't tell me you've covered one game and then expect to be on the sideline for this one. So we gave priority to the people who've been to at least 4 of our games. Okay. So that's just how it went. The other ones were bigger companies, and then essentially first come, first serve. I've had some people that, I actually denied them, and they were big media companies. We actually had a guy that shoots for the Panthers that was denied, but he was one of the last people to reach out. We were already full. It is what it is. It's safety at the end of the day.
Good.
Coach, what was the policy? And I was told this came from downtown. I don't know. But what was the policy as far as coaches with a coach's pass getting on the field?
Got you. So that's another great question, Gary. I appreciate you asking that. So it didn't actually come from downtown. It came from the state. So the North Carolina High School Athletic Association says if you sell out to capacity of your arena, do not take any of our passes because that is a fire marshal issue at that point. So once we sold out the 3,500 tickets that accommodated our stadium, we had no more room for anybody. Those of you who were there, you saw people were standing all around the fence. People were standing down on the hill, on the home side. There was just nowhere else for people to go. So that's why coaches and other media personality with the High School Athletic Association passes weren't allowed in.
Okay. So to address that, it's always, or at least I say always, it's been that way as long as I can remember, Coach Butler. I have been in a situation, I think Langston told me he was in a situation himself where attended a game, got there later than to get in. It was sold out, and they said no, didn't matter what pass you had, you couldn't get in. Now, my concern has been for many years, and we really saw it flare up at Vance and Chambers because for some reason they became even more popular than Mallard Creek in having all the videographers and, you know, everybody coming out to take pictures. And as Langston said, you know, there were situations that from just outside the box down to the goal line and then back wrapped around behind the, you know, across the back of the end zone, there would be people out there, you know, doing their photography stuff. And most of them, you really question whether they are. So my question to you, and I have seen it at Hough, but not so bad. But I've seen it increasing because, of course, Hough is a very popular program, and it happens with all the programs. My concern has always been how many people are on the sidelines and getting around and seeing in some situations, some of these people are just not cognizant of their situation, and I'll see them plop down on their butt on the sideline a yard off the field and sit there and, you know, get their ground level video. So my question to you is, how do you see that? How can we address that so that this is not an issue going forward, that we have safer sidelines?
I think as an administrator, you just have to be cognizant of what's going on. Instead of having like all your other administrators just spread out around the facilities, it's good to have extra eyes down at field level. I stay on the sideline myself personally, so I walk. I constantly see where everybody is. I'm handling those situations, but I don't know that there is a way to stop it without just addressing it on a case-by-case basis. You can say it till you're blue in the face, but until someone gets hurt, unfortunately, that's probably when it's going to strike a fancy for everybody.
Do you think that maybe we ought to look at how and who gets media credentials for CMS games?
So that ends up being a state issue. I don't know how they do it at every other school, but you have to have NCHSAA media credentials to get field access at Hough. So I don't know how they do it everywhere else, though.
So let me answer that. Because this has been addressed in CMS, and the way that NCHSAA has always sent it down to us is that those passes are not credentials. Credentials are the outlet that you work with. And in fact, when you go to state, either regional in basketball or state in football, you have to apply to the NCHSAA that I'm with this media outlet and I want access to the field, or I want access to the press box. Your media passes will get you through the gate into the stands. Now, what CMS has done, we've had big games. We've had you know, we've had games with Butler and Independence that filled Memorial Stadium before they tore the things down. But Langston, you remember the Providence game, the game at Providence with Independence and Butler.
Yeah, you had to go there early and get screened and check your name off and ID and all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. So what CMS did, and Vicki Hamilton was the AD at that time. What CMS did for that game, another Indy Butler game that I attended, I'd say I've probably had this happen about 4 to 5 times over 25 years in CMS, where you can't just, anybody just can't access the field like we do right now. You actually had to get pre-approved by CMS. And it wasn't, as I remember, it wasn't the AD at the school that we were playing at. It was downtown that handled the credentialing, if you will, of who could access the field. So I think it is something that can be done and should be thought about.
Are too many people getting access to the fields, guys? Is that an issue?
Yes, there are.
Yes.
I think there are.
Gary, what do you think? Jim?
Well,
go ahead.
You know, some of the access is coming from coaches. You know, the deeper you get into playoffs, the more coaches have Friday night off.
True.
And they want to see. You know, I saw at least 5 head coaches at the game Friday night.
Right, and they want to be on the field.
And they want to be on the field because that's where they always watch the game from.
Right.
That's what they're used to. They don't want to be in the stands answering questions from parents about, you know, should the coach do this? Should the coach do that? What I need to do to get my kid to come to your school? And those kind of questions. So coaches feel more comfortable down on the field. And, you know, being a former coach myself,
but this man just told you had 237 applications.
But now that I'm older and it gets cold, I'd rather be where I can see and where I can sit down.
Right.
But you know, Friday night, I'm running into coaches, and like I said, I'm friends with people on both staffs, Hough and West Charlotte.
Right.
And the Hough guys wanted me to come down on the field. You know, they told me, wait a minute, coach, we're gonna get you a credential because you need to be down here. Right. You know, and that's when I met Coach
but Gary, my point is, this man told you he had 237 applications, one from an 11-year-old. Are there too many people trying to get access, and should that number be limited? I worry that somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah,
and a lot of these kids, they're not media. They just want to like post on Instagram.
Because I emailed Coach Butler on Monday, and we had a back and forth, and he explained to me, and I was like, cool. And he told me flat out, he said, hey, coach, show your pass and you'll get in unless we're sold out. So get there early. He told me that. So I didn't have a problem with it.
But Langston, how do you control 237 people requesting? And Jim, I'm sorry, I forgot you had something to say. But you can't control 237 people asking.
I would do what the state does. If you want media access, I mean, like getting into the game with your pass, that's one thing. But if you want to be on the field, you want to have access to the press box if there's room, you have to, go through an application process, get a pad, get a lanyard or something at the will call, just like you do when you go to the ACC game or Panthers, anybody else.
Agree. Now, I'm going to say this, Jim, and I'm going to go. Catawba County, if I remember correctly, that it's Catawba County, they, as their LEA, controls field access at all games.
Alex is not here anymore. You just said LEA.
Jim, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim. What you got?
Well, I was going to say, I've been doing this business for many years, 15, 20 years, and I've yet to make my first penny from any of this. I don't go to one game or one school. I think I went to Hillside 2 times this year. I believe I went to Bartley Yancey twice. I go through, from Raleigh all the way to Greensboro to Clayton, you name it, Pittsburgh. I cover a general area. And the reason why is I want to promote high school football. I want to promote the coaches. I want to promote the players and stuff. I want to give them to get as much exposure as possible. And that's what we do here at Talking Preps. We're not in here for the money. We want to make sure that our subscribers have a good idea what these players are doing. They need to get the credit. And what we need to have here is many people in the media, the true media, I'm not talking about these 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, or girlfriends of a photographer or whatever.
So you're calling for a vetting process, is what you're calling for.
Oh yeah, big time on this.
That's all I'm
And
calling.
I mean, that's the thing about it is there's some people that really do need to have media credentials, be able to have access, and denying those people is a disservice to maybe to the players, maybe to the coaches. Mm-hmm. And talking about the coaches over in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, how much money have they made off in the playoffs since they've been in there? Zero. That is the big problem right there. And we can complain and whine and we can yell and scream to our faces go blue, but we need to look after our coaches. And right now, nobody's looking after them. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth.
That's a great point. Our buddy Hales in the back probably has worked about 4 or 5 years extra in the playoffs of his career. Yes, Coach Butler, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you coming in. Hopefully we'll see you in Chapel Hill. I'm guessing you guys are going to play Thursday at 8. What are you hearing?
Well, we haven't heard anything. The High School Athletic Association told us that they wouldn't announce where classifications are going to play until the last regional game is over. So we don't know.
I gotta think you guys gonna play Thursday because everybody else you guys have a bye, and I can't imagine they're gonna put 4A at 4 o'clock because Gary has talked about the traffic at Chapel Hill. His and my alma mater.
That's understood, but I mean, I just don't see them having us to play on a Thursday where a lot of fans can't make it.
Man, it'd be interesting.
You still think there's a possibility that they move 8A to Friday? Is that what you're saying?
I don't, but he does.
I do, but no one really knows.
Yeah, we'll find out next Saturday.
Find out next Saturday, probably.
You have two schools coming from, as Alex would say, the two biggest LEAs in the.
That's correct.
That's
correct. We're gonna bring it to the fans, Coach. We need to rent that big Greyhound bus going up there now.
We'll look into it. Hey, Langston, before I go, though, again, I appreciate you guys having me on, but just one more thing I wanted to say. I have heard that Coach Griner is upset with me. Said I felt like I was taking shots at him when I asked and advocated, why is my coach not on the East-West game? If that hurt your feelings, buddy, I'm sorry. I'm going to advocate for my guys. That's what my job is.
Well, I will bring Coach Griner in, but we can't have a yelling match.
Oh, no, I'm good. We can have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, Coach Griner, give you a chance.
Here's the thing. And look, that's exactly what I was going to say in my final statement, which I don't need to do. I would, as an AD, I would advocate for my head coach as well. No doubt. I think that's what you should do. I think you made it a little personal. No big deal about that. Like you would say, I guess I can read it again. It says no disrespect. That's neither here nor there. You guys whooped our tail. That's not, look, sour grapes. Not trying to have that. Only thing I was upset about was the tickets. And there's the message right there if you want to read it, where you can put it up on the screen or whatever. But it says right there, I texted him on Tuesday and I said, look, 10 tickets, man, are you kidding me? And so my daughter comes to every game, but I had to give tickets out to my coaches. And Baker said, I'll hit you up. And he says, nah, we've been giving out 10. That's for conference games. And I'm like, we ain't even getting paid. So you want me to pay $100 for my family to come to the game? So I was like, I've made a pregame speech. And I was like, family, I was like, we're going to win this game. And I was like, I'll get your tickets to the state championship game. My daughter was crying because she couldn't come to the game. And it was so hard to get 10 more tickets. It was upsetting. And then the locker room thing, we're always provided for. That's whatever. That's what it is. If it wasn't ready, and we didn't have school Wednesday, by the way. It was Tuesday was the last day of school. But the thing is this, it was a little bit of warfare going on, which is fine. And you guys handle it, and y'all took care of business on your end. At the end of the day, that's what it is. I'll remember it, and hopefully we can grow from it, and maybe we can get you the next time. But you earned it. Y'all did your deal. But when I got my text message from my daughter that she was crying, it messed me up. So personally, it made it personal for me now. When she's telling me, my wife is like, hey, you're going to have to calm Charlie down because she can't be there at the game. And I was like, look, I got to give these 10. I got 17 coaches. I got to give these tickets to them. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. So when at the end of the game, I broke my promise. I said, look, I'm sorry we didn't win. And it was a good moment for us to have. But sometimes you need this type of fuel to get better. And y'all are just way better than us right now. And but appreciate you. And nothing personal. You do advocate for your head coach. You should do that. But I think you got a little bit of vendetta against me. You heard some stories that maybe not be true or whatever. But you do that. You keep supporting your guys. I was a little upset about the ticket thing more than anything. And just, y'all take your shots. It's all good. I can take it. I'm a big boy. I took it on the chin. And then when at the end of the game, I went to go shake everybody's hand. And nobody really wanted to shake my hand, which is cool. And I'm good with that too. So it's all good, man.
All right, well, Coach Butler, I'm going to give you the final word, but I will say it sounds like there was some type of miscommunication on tickets. So hopefully next time, whoever's the host game, if you guys meet up or somebody else meets up, we can get that handled. But Coach Butler, you get the last word.
All right, so the last thing I'm going to say about this whole situation, I sent the tickets over to the West Charlotte athletic director, and I had nothing back from him. So if you reached out to Baker, that was between y'all. Did he ask you to reach out to your AD to reach back out to me so I could get them to you, or what was that conversation like?
He said, and I'll read it. Yeah, I said, man, you got to. I said your AD. He says your AD has them. Send them on Monday 10-4 because. With the way you transfer them, I can't transfer them out. I have to use it all on one slip, the way that you're transferring them out. I said, look, I can't transfer the tickets. It has to be transferred a certain way where I can transfer it individually. And then please tell your AD to send 10 more. He sent only 10 tickets. And he said he sent 10 laughing out loud. I'll hit him up. I said, thanks. And it says from the AD. So the AD heard word that I was asking for tickets. That's what we were giving everyone in the playoffs. 20 was our conference.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Tuesday.
Again,
that was on a Tuesday.
Again, I think there was just some miscommunication there. So unfortunate. But Coach Butler, thanks for coming on, man. We'll see you in Chapel Hill. I would prefer it be on Friday, but I have a feel it's going to be on Thursday. But we'll catch up there.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, man. Take care, stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right. As Coach Derek Butler, Sam, that's big of you to say some of the stuff he said. I know you're gonna get your little digs in there, but that was big. So after the game. Baker won the game, so he has something to say to everybody on Talking Prep.
Well, Coach Capone, we wish you the best for next week. I know you got a big game over in Greensboro, and we also have a fellow coach that won a game today, Coach Baker over at Hough. I'm sure the two of you probably have some things to celebrate about.
Yeah, congrats to Hough, man. That was a dominant win.
Well, we trying, man. We trying.
Oh yeah, you can be happy for a little bit now. You got a whole bye week now, so you can be happy right now and then get going.
I got a list of names I need to run off, man. People that be doubting us, like Chris Hughes and Coach Hales and Langston, and always what Hough gonna do, and Chris never he's never happy for us. He never gives us any credit. Everybody's on the West Charlotte bandwagon. People seem to forget that. They lost to us 40-14 last year. They forget. Capone, I don't get it, bro. I don't get it. But
hey, that's where you want to be, man. No one's gonna give us a shot at Grimsley, and our kids are going to appreciate that, man. We like being the underdog. So
hey, we do too. But at some point, you got to give credit when credit due.
All right. Well, credits due to Hough. They won the game. Dale, just your thoughts on this Hough team. I mean, they do need to finish it off. They can't leave it short. And I know Jim. I'm going to ask Jim about Millbrook in a second, but they do need to polish this off.
Yeah, they do. Now, I thought about what Coach Baker said Friday night, and almost to the coach, not every coach. And I'd say Coach Bird didn't bring it up to me, but they all reminded me how much they had beaten West Charlotte by, and how did we think the game was going to be close, be so close this time around? How are they going to shave that many points off? Yeah. As far as cleaning things up, Gary and I talked about this Friday night. There were a limited number of penalties compared to what we've seen in games this year and in here in the playoffs. Now, I don't know if that's what you mean as far as cleaning up their execution.
No, I mean they gotta finish it up. They gotta win the state. They can't.
Oh, they've got to finish it.
Yeah,
well,
they can't.
Okay, that's another thing. And so as of last week, and Chachi made sure I heard about this. And,
I'm sure
he also made sure Matt heard about this too. So, and that was so much talk was made here on the show last week about getting over the hump, and we always talk about it. Myers Park,
but that's factual. That's a factual.
No, exactly. Let me finish. Okay. So that's true. Mm-hmm. And as I said last week, and they seem to forget that I said this, is that at some point teams do get over the hump. And Hough has gotten over that hump. Now there's a whole nother hump maybe of
Butler got over the
winning a
independence
state
hump
championship
and won 3 out of 4 state championships.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to get there, or you got to get past that certain round that as a program you have a hard time getting past. And lots of programs can't get past the 3rd round, as an example, in our 5-round playoff system. So I've been saying this all year, that the one thing I've noticed about this Hough team, and if you remember when we had Coach Baker on, maybe it was the main show last week. Was it last week? I made the comment that the one thing I've noticed about this team this year, and I've seen them, Jim, bless him, he does go around and see other games. I'm in Charlotte, so I've seen Hough 4 times this year. And the one thing, though, that I've noticed about Hough, Langston, is that their focus is different. This is a different mentality team than what I think there was over the last few years. And that
they talked about in the preseason how together they were and they had more leaders this year than they've had in the past. They said they had guys who were there and seniors and telling guys what to do. They have more true leadership. And this is a young Hough team. Hough and West Charlotte are very young teams. So we could be looking at this thing, for the next couple of years. But Jim, I want to switch gears. Let's talk about the state championship game. You've been telling me Millbrook all year. We've been doing a lot of talk about Hough. We had the Millbrook coach on the other day. He talked about how Eastern football is better. They're not soft anymore. Are you picking Millbrook to win this game?
You know what? It's we're probably a week and a half away from the actual game. I have to think about it. Right now, I will say Millbrook is
no. You've been telling me all year it's Millbrook.
I'll give him time.
I think it's going to be Millbrook. I'll say it. I do
say
think
it with your chest, man. Say it with your chest.
That's the thing about us, eastern part of the state. We don't have to beat our chest. We just say our words, and be done.
Every year I look, it's like West 3-1, West 4-0, West 3-1.
Well, that's the truth. If you come from the East, you tend to be a little bit more humble. If you take everything east of I-95 and made it to the 51st
Wait for
state,
the East,
it would be the poorest state in the union. So these people, we know all about struggling. Now, I live on the western side of I-95, but football-wise, yes, we're definitely the last 15, 20 years way behind the western part of the state, but Millbrook is a special team. They have a great defense. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I don't think either team's going to score 20 points.
Wow.
I really don't.
Wow. Gary, I'm just curious about your thoughts about Hough being in the championship game. Millbrook's going to have a lot of fans at the game because it's very close to Millbrook.
We were talking about getting over the hump and seeing a change in Hough.
Mm-hmm.
This may sound kind of counter to what we think about the kicking game, but Hough always had these kickers that could make 50-yard field goals with regularity. So once they hit the 35, the 30, they would get ultra conservative because they didn't want to lose, that field goal.
And they also had Nolan Houser who could hit from 60.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they played to the kicking game.
Right.
Now, they still have a good kicker, but he's not Nolan Houser.
Right.
So now they are more aggressive when they cross the 50 than they used to be because they don't have that kicker that can make a 50-yarder with regularity. So I think that makes a difference, that it changes the way you call plays. And Coach Baker is a lot more aggressive about trying to score touchdowns as opposed to settling for field goals. And that makes a difference because anytime you get a touchdown, that's way better than a field goal.
Coach Hales, you've been in this exact situation. You guys couldn't beat Independence. Then you beat them. Then you went to the state. How do you get the kids focused on finally getting over that hump, but also knowing there's another game left?
I got to go back some years to remember exactly the feelings, how that went down. But I think, and again, if I'm remembering correct, so this was 2009. And, you know, we beat Independence the last game of the regular season, and really a nip and tuck kind of game. It was 31-24. By the time we saw them in the playoffs, like, we rolled over them in the semifinals. And I think we had so much momentum at that point. You get that feeling you could have put anybody out there in front of us the next week.
Right.
It probably wasn't going to matter. You know, it's just the confidence was so high. The, even practice the next week, and that's where a lot of that, that leadership, comes into play as well. You know, we had guys like Kendall Lane was a senior on that team, and, like Stephen Amwang, guys like that, BJ Woodley, that just were able to be like, yeah, that's great. We still got another game to play, but it's just, especially getting there for that first time, like I said, just that emotion and that confidence, it's hard to overcome that stuff.
Yeah, that should be a heck of a game. Two unbeaten teams running into each other in the state finals. All right, we're gonna take a quick break and get to the breakdown of the playoffs. Turn Jim loose, but these are our players of the week, Gary. I'm gonna tell you the guy that caught my eye is that last guy, Cameron Clem, 456-8 against Community School of Davidson. He follows it up with 377-4 against Corrigan, who we know is a really good team. Anybody catch your eye? That's what caught my eye.
Well, this kid right here, he's gonna have, maybe after the championship game, he may have close to 2,000 rushing yards just in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not taking into consideration the regular season. That is phenomenal to have that type of, especially this deep, because there are no bad teams now.
Right.
There's nobody that got in on the participation system. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody that's playing now or this past weekend is a legitimate good football team.
Yeah,
and
no,
put up those kind of stats against good football teams is phenomenal.
That's a real thing. He's having a phenomenal season and a phenomenal postseason. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come right back and talk about all the games and all the classes right after this break.
Hey, this is Chris Hughes, host of the Observer's Talking Preps. Proud to say that our show is growing and growing and growing, and we've got a brand new schedule. Mondays at 8 p.m., get our players of the week. No more waiting. Then on Tuesday, 8 p.m., catch me and Sam and all the guys of the number one show in high school football in North Carolina, Talking Preps. Wednesdays, 8:30, Dale Ross and Jim West will host Talking Preps OT Live, talking about statewide issues, trends, and interacting with viewers. And don't miss our post-game show Fridays at 11 p.m. where we wrap up all of the night's actions. At Talking Preps, we've got you covered all week.
All right, we're back, guys. It's time to break down the playoffs. I am not Chris Hughes, so I have to defer to my man, Jim West. Let's start with the 1A, Jim, and the 2A. We'll start over on the 1A side. We got a state championship game coming up between Robbinsville and Wilson Prep. You and Dale have been telling me about Robbinsville all year. I guess we're not surprised. Both teams winning blowouts in the city.
Yeah, I was pretty sure Robbinsville would win in the West. I just didn't see any team was at their caliber. Wilson Prep, they did have a couple really good wins the last 2 weeks. They beat Kip Pride and then Northside. This championship game is going to be a really good one. I think Robbinsville will be slightly favored, but I don't see it. I think it's going to be something like a 31-26, 31-27 type of score.
So Wilson's Prep's record is deceiving. They must have played a lot of really good teams along the way.
They played a 7A Clayton team. How many 1A teams, that play 7A teams?
Jump on my man Scott Chadwick. Yeah, you got to be bold to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to pick Robbinsville in that game. If we pick it, I don't know if we'll pick it, but I will pick Robbinsville. All right, let's go over to the 2A side, Jim. Starmount and Murphy have advanced. We just talked about the kid from Murphy. And Warren County and Tarboro have advanced. Is this the Tarboro Invitational? It doesn't matter who is in the West?
Pretty much so. I hate to say that, but it's, death, taxes, and then Tarboro is going to win in the East. Those are the three things that you can pretty much depend on. Tarboro, this will be the ninth time that they've been in the regional championship that they will win in a row. So I think Tarboro, it's going to be between a 31-point to running clock type of advantage. I saw Warren County play a couple weeks ago. They have a good, talented team, but they're not Tarboro talented. So it's going to be a pretty tough game for
Where's Tarboro located at?
It's about an hour east of Plymouth, I'm gonna say probably 30, or excuse me, an hour west of Plymouth, about 25 minutes east of Rocky Mount off of Highway 64.
Is it? I mean, they just have that program there rocking so good, or is it a boarding school for crying out loud?
Well, you know, that's
9 years.
No, they have the kids in the. We had the coach on with Grice and you actually.
Yeah. I remember he
was talking about how they start them in elementary and they run that system all the way through. It's kind of what Catholic used to do.
He's an Ohio guy, right? Craddock? He's from Ohio.
I think he went to Kent State too.
But Hales, I want to ask you.
Makes sense.
Hales, I want to ask you a question. You're the coach of Warren County, right?
Warren County, let's go.
You know how good Tarboro is, and your kids look over and see they won 54-7 in the semifinal, in the quarterfinals.
Oof.
How do you get your kids not to scoreboard watch and not to be intimidated? You're the Warren County coach. So how do you get your kids not to be intimidated going into Friday night and going to Tarboro?
I don't have the first egg clue how to do that with those guys. I don't know. No, I mean, to me, you just look at it and say, hey, like let's get through the first quarter. Let's get us in, like whether we slow down, whether we take our time. And if it's 7-0 or whatever, if it's a one score, let's make sure we got a one score game at the end of the first quarter. And then let's see if we can kind of make it a one score game at the halftime and just try to put some pressure on them somewhere, try to put them in a position that they're not used to being in. But as far as preparing for it, I mean, have a good plan for taking up helmets and shoulder pads, I guess, because that's rough, man. That's rough.
One thing that I'll say about
here with you guys.
One thing I'll say about Tarboro, they had a trouble with Kinston about 3-4 weeks ago, or I think it was like maybe week 8 or week 9 of the regular season, and that's the reason why is Kinston went vertical. Warren County, I saw them play or pass the ball twice in the game that I watched. One was intercepted, one was incomplete. So it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
that's one of those like. Yeah, you get into the game and it's like, what if we try this, try to do something different? Like if plan B was so good, it would be plan A. Like you just hope for the best, stay committed to it, and try to get it into the second half, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me when Charlotte football was kind of taking off in the early 2000s, and nobody was really passing the ball, and the Charlotte coaches had figured out how to stop the run. And I go to all these playoff games, and I said, "You guys pass it? No, we just run." I said, "Oh, this game's over." So let's go to the next week. All right, let's go to the 3A playoffs, Jim. Oh, I love that Shelby Lincoln game. But start me out with Kinston playing James Keenan. James Keenan had a blowout game in the quarterfinals, and Kinston had a fight.
They really did. Kinston, that game kind of went back and forth. Northeastern would be up by 3, then Kinston would go up by 4. It ended up whoever had the ball last one, and it happened to be Kinston. Mm-hmm. Kinston does have a good passing game. James Keenan is run, and then run some more. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a really good game. These two teams actually were in the same conference not that long ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think Keenan is probably just a slight favorite. I'm going to say probably 3 to 7 points. It's going to be a tough one.
All right, tell me about this rematch between Shelby and Lincolnton. The last time they went down to the wire.
Exactly. And Lincolnton won. They went for 2 and scored. Yes. I think the final score was like 36-35 or 37-36, something like that. I think Shelby 35-34. Great. I think this is Shelby's redemption game. I think Shelby will win. I think they have something, a chip on their shoulder. And it takes a lot for Shelby to get a chip on their shoulder against a classification team like Lincolnton. Mm-hmm. I think Shelby is the real deal. They played I'm going to say a little bit sloppy against Eastern Randolph. Their rush defense didn't look very, very solid, but I think a lot of it had to do with Eastern Randolph's team. I mean, they just knew how to run the ball. They ran the ball really good against Shelby, and they run the ball against anybody.
And Lincoln's going to throw the ball all over the yard, and they got a really good defense. That should be a good game. But, Sam, your guy, Land Farmer, that fullback, that linebacker playing quarterback, what do you think?
Yeah, I just can't imagine how many more games he could play that jersey. If it is a medium, then that thing is not going to be a medium.
It's medium.
But you're talking about like a redemption game. Like this is one of the games to go to in the regional finals. Like, if you're in that Cleveland County, it's not in Cleveland County, obviously it's in Lincolnton, but if you're in that Cleveland County area, that whole fan base is going to be at Lincoln.
No, that game is going to be sold out.
Yeah, sold out. Like I might be interested in watching that game.
Okay, hold on. I'll send you up there. Don't say that.
I'm already going.
How far is Lincoln? How far is Lincoln? That ain't too
about
bad.
an hour from west side of Charlotte.
It's not that well.
A little under an hour, 45 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll
You
say
know
30.
what?
I'll say
You know
30,
what?
45 minutes.
There's a good chance I go to that. I'm gonna say 75% chance. Get me ready for it.
Well, folks at Lincoln, please treat Sam better than the folks in Richmond County did. The folks in Richmond County made Sam they were going to kill him in the first half. Then they fit him.
No, they got that. We had a good time.
After it was okay. At first, you called me like I'm a little nervous up here, man. I remember that.
Me and Hells are going to Lincoln.
All right,
I'm thinking about it.
Let's do it. All right, Jim, take me on the other side. We got Maiden. Maiden, if you've been in North Carolina enough, you know Maiden is being a powerhouse. They're back. They're playing Brevard.
I tell you what, Maiden just seems to have got hot at the right time. They went 6-4 during the regular season, and they've been on a pretty good run. Brevard, though, is a team on the rise. I think they started great this season. They just seem to get better. They've won some close games. I think Brevard's going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but it's going to be I think Brevard has probably a touchdown advantage over Maiden.
That East game could be a fight. Reedsville's, has been good in football and basketball for a while. Now they're going to, play West Craven. This is two powers facing off.
I think this is going to be a close one. This is the game that I'll probably end up going to. Okay. West Craven is a team that's if there's one team in the 4A that could beat Reedsville, would be West Craven. Obviously, they're the only team left in the East. I think this game could go either way, to be honest with you. I don't know how I'm going to pick until
Reedsville has a secret weapon in Deontay Neal. He can play any skill position. He can play quarterback. He's one of the best athletes around. He was I think he was Gatorade Player of the Year last year. But he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's a difference maker. It's kind of like KD Cotton for you, Sam. He just plays everywhere, and you just have to account for him. He's a heck of a basketball player. Say again? Well, he used to play for you. I mean,
yeah, that's right. He was phenomenal. Two-time athlete of the year for us too.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at the 5A, Jim. Northside at Hunt. Northside, Hunt had a close game. Northside had a pretty comfortable game. As I remember, you were telling me you thought this was going to be the regional final.
I thought so. I know a lot of people were picking Rocky Mount. They've been around for quite a while it used to be in the 3As, now it's 5A scene. Hunt is a really, really solid team. Northside is too. This game I think it's going to be probably a 3 or 4 point type of victory for whoever wins. Maybe Hunt just slightly ahead of Northside, but it should be a pretty close one. However, I'll say this, and this is no disrespect to either one of these teams, the 5A West is just so much more loaded to the East. And I think there's a big disparity between the West and the East.
Coming from Jim West, who is the East. It's ironic that he represents the East and his name is West. I just get that one right there.
I'm interdirectional. I'm from the West originally, Sam.
Yeah, what do you think about Joe Glass and Hickory playing Crest? I think secretly Joe Glass probably thinks we have been dissing him all year. Bacon thinks we don't give him any respect. I think Mr. Glass doesn't think we give him much respect.
Well, and now they got to face Chris, which is a highly dynamic team.
Yeah, great quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a great game. It's a little bit further to get to Hickory.
I think that's the best game in the West this week.
It's further
other than the 8A game. I think it's the best.
This is another one, Hales, we've got to think about. The Crest.
No. I need you at Lincoln now.
All right, I'll go to Lincoln tonight. That's fine.
I've never been to Lincoln. I want to go someplace I've never been.
All right, let's do it. Hey, we need something. Lincoln barbecue. They got to have good barbecue there.
There is good barbecue in Lincoln.
You got the barbecue king right on the screen with you.
All right.
Let's go to the 6A. Jim, Middle Creek. We had the Middle Creek wide receiver on the Player of the Week show. They're playing Jacksonville. Do they have a shot?
They have a shot. I think these two teams are probably fairly evenly matched. I'd give Jacksonville maybe a slightest of edge, but Middle Creek has probably played the best in 6A of any team in the 6As, but East or West, barring Northern Guilford. They just seem to have gotten hot at the right time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked at all if Middle Creek wins that game, but I'll give Jacksonville a slight edge.
Well, Ken, what I don't see in these playoff brackets is a Cabarrus County team, but I'll have to ask you anyway. Tell me about Northern Guilford and Watauga. Watauga's at home is going to be cold. Northern Guilford shocked the world beating Ashbrook the other night.
I mean, I'll be honest, that game really didn't shock me that much. Ashbrook, as good as they are, I know they had a relatively close game with Northwest Cabarrus earlier in the year. They played some close games down the stretch that I thought they should have won a lot bigger, and I thought they would finally meet their match in the playoffs, and turned out to be Northern. I like Watauga in that game. Watauga got pushed early, and really that whole game they played this past Friday, but I still think playing there in that weather, it's going to be a little bit different for Northern Guilford. It's going to be tough for them to kind of overcome that. And I mean, Watauga, you can Gary, they seem to have favorable refs up in Watauga.
Don't get Gary started on the referees at Watauga. Were you surprised about Hickory and J.M. Robinson? Hickory scored late to win.
I was surprised how close it was. Quite frankly, just knowing JM's conference, how it's very top heavy. It's usually them and Northwest Cabarrus at the end of the season, fight for the SBC title. I thought Hickory would been a lot bigger for JM to keep that game close. And I mean, Seidel's a good coach, no doubt about it. So I don't want to take anything away from the Bulldogs, but I thought Hickory would win by a lot more. So I guess in a way, that's my hat tip to JM.
Now, Seidel was on the show with Dale and Jim on Wednesday, and he talked about how, you know, in the preseason, he thought they were getting their heads kicked in. He wondered what was going to happen during the season. And what happened was they got blown out by Myers Park in week 1, and we all kind of jumped off the bandwagon, and they ran off, 10, 11, 12 straight wins and played Hickory darn near to a draw. Jim, all that said, let's talk a little bit about this Northern Guilford and Watauga game. You know, we've talked week after week after week about how hard it is to play at Watauga and how cold it is, and every week it gets a little colder.
Oh, exactly right. And to be honest with that, Watauga game last Friday might have been the coldest we're going to see. I don't know if it's going to be quite as cold this next Friday or not, but it's definitely a big home field advantage. I know some people said there's no such thing as home field advantage, but there is. I think even middle physical, you can name it. And while it's the same for both teams, I think Watauga might have a little bit more used to it than Northern Guilford. But I'm expecting a really good game. I think Watauga pulls it out. I think they finally get over the hump, like we've just been talking about Hough getting over the hump.
Yeah.
I think the same thing's going to be with Watauga.
Gary has a statement about the cold that I really like. He said that you don't feel cold until you start losing.
Yeah, you don't get cold until the fourth quarter. You look up at that scoreboard and you start sensing the finality, and you just watch. I saw it Friday night. More and more people get close to that heater.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. All right, let's go to the big boys. Let's start over in the 7A East gym. Our friend Scott Chadwick getting close to a state championship game. He won one in Maryland. Now he's trying to go to one in North Carolina.
You know what? I do like Scott Chadwick quite a bit. I saw Clayton and Cleveland play a couple of years ago, and Scott is somebody that makes a program better. He's a program builder. We got a couple of program builders on here right now with Sam Griner and Coach Hells. Scott Chadwick's in the same group. Colonel Gibbons, that program has arrived. So when it comes to coaching, I think it's going to be pretty even. When it comes to talent right now, I think the talent is pretty even. Clayton might be a little bit more on the rise than Colonel Gibbons. That home field advantage in Colonel Gibbons, that is real. I'm going to take Colonel Gibbons in a close one.
Cam, you've seen this Weddington-Grimsley matchup before. What do you think? This is like the third time they've played, I think. What do you think about
I've seen this matchup a lot. Going back to 22, I went up there for that regional final after Grimsley beat Hough, and it was a close game. I mean, all these games, I think minus 23 was actually pretty close. If you just look at talent across the board, I think defensively Weddington's a little bit more sound, but I think offensively Grimsley's probably more sound. It's really going to be a battle of wills. It has been in the past couple of years. I think if Weddington's front four get enough pressure on quarterbacks for the Worley's Faison Brandon, I think it could disrupt their rhythm a little bit. I mean, you just look at what Reagan did. I mean, Reagan was only down by 3 at halftime against Grimsley, which kind of shocked me. But once Grimsley settles in, it's hard to stop them, and they settled in that second half in that game. But if I had to pick right now, I'd pick Grimsley. But, I mean, Capone he's got a winning record that surpasses most, if not all, coaches right down the state. So there's a reason for that.
The man's 101-10, Sam. Weddington, I'm sorry, not Weddington, but you saw Faison Brandon up close and personal. This is probably his biggest game since they played you. Has he had enough games since he's been back to get ready for a team like Weddington in a game of this magnitude?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. The thing is, but Weddington's clicking on all cylinders as well. Right now, this is a great ball game to go to. Definitely one of the top 3 you can possibly go to in the state.
I think this is the game in the state this week.
Yeah, it can be, and we're going to link it to that. We're going to say that's a big game too. All right. So, and then obviously the Crest game and all that stuff. So, phenomenal game. Rooting for both of these coaches, phenomenal head coaches, both of them, top notch character. Both of them, you got to put up there as the best 2 coaches as of right now. In the state of North Carolina. And playing at Grimsley is a huge advantage, though. Those blinking lights, they're controlling those blinking lights.
Yeah, they got that Richmond County thing going on. Yeah, they do.
There's something about in high school when a kid, when a score happens, lights are blinking and things like that, then it affects you a little bit.
Why don't you do that at West Charlotte? Why don't you put in the blinking lights?
I want some blinking lights, dadgummit. We might. Hey, I tell you what. We threw the ball 25 times. It didn't work out great last game, but I'll guarantee 30 passes a game if we put lights up.
You will never pass the ball 30 times a game. Hales, what do you think about this game?
No, I think it's because of both games that I'm really interested, and it's the caliber of coaching, and not just the head coach, of course, but the entire coaching staff.
Four phenomenal coaches.
But yeah, and so I think so what you're going to see of both of these games is truly the outcome's going to depend on who plays the best, because you're not going to have coaches that are, making huge mistakes, putting their teams in bad positions or, are showing up for this round unprepared, and I think even Gary or Dale said it, a few minutes ago that like everybody's good at this point. Well, that's the thing. Every coaching staff at this point, looking at these 2 games, is exceptional in their experience that they've been through these rounds before. You mentioned Coach Chadwick. He's won a state championship at Maryland, built a program at Marvin Ridge, elevated Myers Park. He's doing it at Clayton, and so that's what's really cool about this is as long as the referees stay out of the way, and these games are going to be decided by the players, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Dale.
Yeah, I don't know that I can add anything further other than, I think everybody's spot on.
I mean, I think it's going to come down.
I don't want to kill us.
The game, if you look at it schematically, I think that you're seeing number 4 for Weddington. You're starting to see KD a lot more on defense. I think them building some athleticism in the back end for Weddington is going to be critical in this game. Grimsley has a way to affect you on the perimeter because the ball comes out extremely fast. You're going to have to use that 7 to stop the run because they use the quarterback run game and their running game. Their O-line is phenomenal. So, but it's easy for, in the past, Grimsley, if Weddington didn't address that, the back end, they can get the ball out quick, and those athletes, number 1, and some of those other guys get the ball in their hands, and they got a huge advantage against their DBs. I think that Andy Capone's done a good job with his defensive staff. Obviously that staff's been there for a long time. They're using their athletes on the back end, and I think that it's going to be a closer matchup. You could see a 1-score game in this for sure.
How much does it help Weddington? They played a pass-happy team, a really good pass-happy team, just Friday night against Independence.
Yes, but the thing is, too, that the difference is, I picked Independence earlier, and I was going to,
Andy reminded us that you picked Independence.
He did? Yeah. I mean, and I'm great friends with Capone. Like, I really like that guy a lot. But I wanted to pick somebody from our conference. I thought that they were rolling. They were clicking on all cylinders, and I was rooting for them. And that's what you should do, kind of. But, Andy Capone can handle that. He likes those underdog roles and stuff. And going into this game, they are the underdogs. And I think that he likes where he stands, and I think he'll motivate him, and they'll play even better in it. And they got a real good shot. It's not a dark horse chance. It's not. They literally have a good shot at winning this game.
The biggest thing though is, and you say better than the rest of us do. Like Grimsley's got that guy. It doesn't matter what you draw up. Like you could have the best call, the best scheme. doesn't matter. Like this kid could just cancel all that stuff out. So, you know, I think there's a better path for Grimsley. Just again, like I said before, like the best player on the field's got the ball to save every play.
No, that's absolutely true. But that said, I'm picking Weddington in this game. Cam, what do you got?
No, I mean, to your point earlier, Langston, you talked about how Independence is pass happy and, you know, they pass the ball a lot. But I mean, as good as Jared Street is, and he will become, I think, you know, with him just being a junior, I think Faison is just he's the number one player
in the country, Cam. I mean, I'm not saying that.
He's the number one player in the country for a reason. You look at this game last year, of course, two different teams, a lot of returners for both teams, but I mean, Weddington had them down at halftime, and whatever adjustments they made in the locker room at halftime just seemed to work. They got Weddington rattled, got them out of their rhythm offensively, stopped the run game really well, and then offensively they just hit a spark, hit some plays. I remember one play was like a tight end screen where basically the whole front shifted to the right, and everybody thought it was a run with Mitchell Summers. Tight end just flared out of the backfield. He was essentially butt naked and just wide open, and just some of the play calls in that second half that Coach Brown over there at Grimsley ran were just really high level for high school.
Yeah, Mitchell Summers just had one of those games that, you know, you talk about in the barbershop for 50 years from now, nobody believed it really happened.
That's the one guy that's not there though this game. You know, you gotta take that into account.
It's true, but I mean, their second and third option, even now they're first and second option this year, they're still really good running the ball, and they've got a huge offensive line.
And I mean, you guys bring up the name Summers. Like I'm remembering another quarterback from up that way with the same last name. You know, that single-handedly took us out in 2011, took Mallard Creek out in 2011. That was James Summers up the page. And that's just – that's the thing. I mean, with Faison, I mean, it's the kid that you can't replicate that stuff in practice. Like, there's no way to simulate that stuff.
He can pull that thing down and use his legs. Gary, I have a question for you, though. Is this going to be a holler game like this?
You know, I don't know if they do a lot of posturing. I think they don't have to convince themselves that they're good. You know, both coaches said this wasn't going to happen, and it happened. Look at it.
There's a whole lot of posturing.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious.
Hey, we on our side of the 50 over here. All right, calm down.
Sam, is it true you came out with no shirt on? That's all I want to know. Is it true?
No, sorry. There's a story.
Did you have the guns out? Did you have the guns out?
It wasn't no plan. I can tell you that. But when we didn't have a locker room, okay, when we didn't have a locker room, I was like, I saw our kids running out there with no shirts on. I'm like, dadgummit. And then they said to me, Grind, are you with us or you're not? And I said, well, damn it, I'm with you. And so I did it. And I was like, you know, all people hate me, they don't hate me, whatever. You know, I don't care about it. If my players say they wanted me, I don't care what other people think about it. I'll do whatever it takes for my players. I love my guys. It was colder as hell, and I did it with them for the warm-ups. Yes, I did it with them warm-ups.
Gary, you used to play for a coach that made you wear shorts on the sideline, but you refused to wear shorts, right?
Yeah, I was an assistant with Jim Secord, a state championship coach at Providence.
Yeah.
And, you know, once I was secure in my own career, you know,
That's
Friday night.
That's the key right there.
One Friday night, I put on some long pants, and the rest of the staff had on shorts. And he's like, "What you doing, coach? We getting ready to go out?" I said, "I know. I'm going with you." And he said, "Well, wear your shorts." I'm not wearing shorts. It's too cold. And he addressed me in a vulgar name, and I let him know that if he was going to address me in that name, put a Mr. in front of it. But,
did y'all win that game or did you lose that game?
I don't remember the game, but I know the next week.
I would like to know if that.
I know the next week the whole staff had on long pants except him.
Secord and Tom Knox, but they were always wearing shorts. I
speaking of Tom Knox, his whole team didn't wear shirts or something coming out.
The whole team came out without shirts on the other night. Yeah, that whole Dutch 14 team.
They did.
Now, if we would have won, and we got to tell, well, if we would have won, nobody would have said nothing, but it didn't work out in our favor. So
yeah, we're going to talk a little more about this game, obviously, next week. But Jim, just a real quick look, Hough and Millbrook, just real quick.
I expect a lot of good defense. I don't think either team's going to score more than 20. I am going to take the East. I will not deny it. I'm going to take Millbrook in a very close one. But again, I think it's going to be one of these games where I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like 17-14 or even a 13-10 type of score.
20-3.
20-3.
20-3.
Who wins?
Wow.
Oh, he's got Huff all day long.
Team from Cornelius. Getting it done. 20-3.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back after this break. It's time for my favorite part of the show. We're going to dedicate this to Chris on his birthday, Coach versus Coach.
Hi, I'm Scott Fowler, sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer. I have been here 31 years, but you know what I never have had before here? A newsletter. I've got one now. It's free. I'd love you to sign up for it and get my take. Every single time I have a column, you'll see it first. Panthers, Hornets, college sports, high school sports, whatever controversies going on. Sign up for my free newsletter, and you will be able to get my column every single time earlier than anyone else.
All right, guys, this is a special one for Chris on his birthday. It's time to lock the doors.
Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Man, this is our next to last show of the season. I'm gonna miss you guys every Sunday filming this stuff. So Gary wrote these first two questions, and Sam, I know you're going to receive, right? You're not going to defer.
No, I'm changing now. I'm deferring now.
You're deferring. Okay.
Oh, come on.
The law has changed.
Come on, bring it. I'll change
you want it?
Yeah, dude, you gotta go. You gotta go.
I'll go.
Right.
Come on.
All right, Sam. What was the best high school game you saw this season? I know it wasn't Friday, but what was the best game you saw?
The best game that I've seen was the first one I was a part of. In Bank of America Stadium. I hopefully that Bank of America keeps doing that. Just the fans that came out for the game before, for our game, get to go into overtime. It was a special moment, best game I've seen all year. Because I ain't been to a lot of games outside of our own, but I thought it was a special time for the city. I think that anytime there's people getting out of their homes and they're going to high school football games is special. The more fans at any game there is, it's making a special moment for all the players. So do whatever you can to root your team on, no matter what.
All right, Gary.
I'm gonna agree with Sam. The best game I saw all season was the doubleheader at Bank of America because both games were great.
Yeah.
They were competitive, and there were a lot of big matchups throughout the year, but none of them, based on names and reputation, but none of them were close.
Right.
None of them were close. The only close games where you had both sides having a outstanding reputation and all this anticipation was that opening weekend at Bank of America Stadium. So those were the two best games I saw all year.
All right, Hales.
Yeah, obviously I had the same problem Sam did, right? I get to see a lot of other teams other than my own play this year. But, a couple of things that really I'd say got my attention, along those lines were, the games at Bank of America Stadium. I love that the Panthers are involved and getting involved with high school football and making it a big deal again. One of the games that I did see through a film exchange was the Lake Norman Mooresville game. And, I think was really cool about that was just like the number of people that were already like down on the track and things like that. So to see like that there's still that excitement and communities still come out and support their schools like that, like that's something I think like, if we're talking about getting these schools back on track and enthusiasm and things like that, we need to see more of that stuff. We need to make sure that, these games stay affordable so that these people can get out and see these games and be in these environments that, Sam, like you grew up in, seeing around here in Charlotte and guys like we saw growing up too, like where the whole community come out. So like, kind of, answering your question a little different way, but just seeing that there's excitement around high school football and there's things that can be done to make sure that we keep having big events and a lot of people turning out to see these games.
Yeah, I mean, what Coach is saying right here too, I mean, imagine like what hurt my feelings, like my daughter not being able to go to the game was the experience of the games. It didn't work out good for us. But there's something about going to the concession stand, getting your nachos, getting that famous sandwiches at the certain spot, interacting with people, seeing the excitement and people cheering of those endorphins getting released. When more people are there and people get exciting, and you see a cheering session or sections where, you got the neon this week and they got that is special. And I encourage any school that does those things and people to come out. You will never, ever go to a game and everybody's out there going crazy and having a good time, doing it the right way. You'll never leave that game. It's almost like church. You might not want to go and you got to get yourself up and pay for the ticket or whatever. But whenever you leave, you'll never leave there saying, man, that was a great moment. You will never leave saying, I wish I didn't come. No doubt.
You know who I think does a really good job of that? It's an umbrella term, but like the private schools, that they do a great job of that. One of the most exciting games I was ever in was probably almost 25 years ago when I was coaching at Providence Day, and we had a game that went to overtime over a country day. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to a game of country day. Like, that is such a cool environment there, like surrounded by the trees and all that stuff. But like, when you have that whole school out where they have the lower school and the middle school,
and they're all on the track.
Yeah. And years ago, like, we played High Brighton one year, and they had like all the youth league teams for the community like lined up under the goalpost, and the team ran out. Like, that's what high school football is, and that's the part that I hope, with all the transfer portal stuff and all that stuff, that's the part I'm just hoping that, and I like hope and pray, keep my fingers crossed. That's the stuff I hope never ever goes away, because that's what makes this stuff special.
Oh, you just reminded me, Coach, of something I saw on Twitter this week.
Oh,
there was a high school kid that posted. His high school. This is a middle school kid. He posted his high school choices. And somebody sent this to me, actually.
Who's the A Red Raiders? Who's that?
I don't know. But my point is that
they got somebody a little love right there.
We you guys might not remember, but back in the day, I mean, Gary might, but back in the day, Happy Days had an episode where Fonzie jumped over a shark in the lake. And that was like, that started this thing called Jumping the Shark. That's when the show was just going too far. This is Jumping the Shark. I mean, a middle school kid posted, like, you really can go to all these schools. That shows you that geographic boundaries don't exist. And I really think we should do away with geographic boundaries. That's a different discussion. Gary, what do you think seeing this?
Huh?
What do you think seeing this?
I saw I saw it earlier in our chat, but I didn't realize what he was doing at the time. Now that you bring it up, I do.
Yeah, he's saying I could go to any one of these schools.
How's West Charlotte not on there?
That's what I'm saying.
Must not be a kicker.
I know, right? I'm saying to myself, what's going on with CMS? And maybe next week we'll see a CMS school linked in there.
Who knows?
Well, here's what I think. This brings one question to mind when I see this.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's crazy.
Come on, man.
All right, Coach Hales, which team exceeded your expectations this season?
The Butler Bulldogs, without a doubt. I don't hesitate for a second. Obviously I'm as biased as I could possibly be when asked this question, but absolutely Butler exceeded my expectations. I came in very, very late in the game at the end of May and just found a bunch of kids that were just needed to be coached and wanted to be loved on and just needed to be brought back together. And, to play, and people can say that we played the toughest schedule, like statistically speaking, like Irmo, Providence Day, conference champs in Olympic and Providence, obviously the big dogs in our conference. And these kids battled. They got better every week. They ended up winning a playoff game and, went up there and fought their tails off against Mooresville. But, if you would have told me or anybody else that was around the Butler football program at the end or, the middle of May, that we'd be a second round playoff team, they would have checked you for something because they would have thought you're crazy. So no, I think Butler absolutely exceeded our expectations, and I couldn't be more proud of the season that we had.
All right, I asked you this question a couple of weeks ago, and you gave me the Bill Belichick answer.
Yeah.
Are you going back next year?
Every day it's just I got to wake up and ask myself that question, and I haven't made a decision as far as what's going to happen with next year yet. I'm going to love Butler no matter what I do, and whether I'm actively involved with coaching the football team or I'm taking a hands-off role or I'm nowhere to be seen, like who knows? But, because if you had asked me at the beginning of May last year, are you going to be coaching Butler football next year? I would say absolutely not. And look where we ended up. So if there was one thing I learned this year, it was, you don't know what the future holds in store. So, got to have some conversation with some people and see how things are going. And we'll see. But, yeah, go ahead.
How many years do you have in North Carolina?
Oh, I think the last I looked, I'm on year 23 or coming close. I think at the end of this school year, I have 23 in.
And you can leave about 25 with sick days and stuff?
Well, technically, I can go now, because I'm over 50 and I've got more than 20 years in. But the retirement is severely reduced. So, every year you're in it, you basically get another 5%.
Gary will tell you retirement's pretty good.
Yeah, but Hales has got a gift, and so does Gary too. They got gifts, but Hales, I can't see Hales.
Gary can teach driver's ed.
Yeah, that's where the money's at. Gary's smart.
That's the gift I want.
Yeah, that's no doubt. But let's just be honest. Hales has the ability to motivate, to do certain things, to get the most, and literally scrape out every the bottom of the ice cream. You know what I'm saying? It's he's melting in a little bit and drain. I mean, there's no ice cream left. Left at the bottom when he's dealing with athletes, and he does everything he can to get everything out of those athletes. And it's a gift. Not everybody can do that. So it's almost a disservice if he's not coaching somewhere, to be honest with you. And, having him on the show, I don't know if our show would be any successful at all. I know it sounds like a last remark type deal, but thanks for coming on our show, Hales. Cause I'm going to tell you right now, this show is nothing without you. I don't think I think you bring a different element, no doubt.
Definitely elevated. All right. But back to the question, Mr. Garner, what team exceeded your expectations?
I got two. The first one's going to be South Mech. I think Joe.
Good call.
I thought Joe did a phenomenal job and was knocking on the door a lot of times and made their team very competitive and beat some teams that we weren't expecting. Yeah. And hats off to Joe because he's a grinder. He lives in that weight room. He makes those kids believe, and he's had a lot of athletes leave, and he keeps the grind going. And he exceeded my expectations and probably a lot of others. The other one is the job that Jupiter Wilson's done. They say where coaches go to die, and he didn't die. I think he exceeded. I think there's a buzz around Garinger. They won their first game. They were competitive in some other games, and I think they're only going to go up. And this man's taking on another family, and he's got a couple of kids staying with him right now, and they're big too. Smart, he got the blindside kids with him, big five. Smart move by him. But just hats off to him. He exceeded. We all wanted him to do well, but he exceeded my expectations, and he's taking over the wrestling program right now. And so the man's just a worker, and just super proud of him as well.
Gary.
Kudos on the thing about Jupiter. I talked to him last night. He told me he's coaching another sport, and
you knew he was going to coach another sport.
I knew he was. And he told me when he take the Garinger job, I'm gonna concentrate on football.
One guy,
but Ashbrook surprised me. I wasn't counting on them to go undefeated.
Yeah, they
only lost one game, and that was a playoff game.
Yeah.
So I think Ashbrook surprised me. Providence surprised me.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't see them finishing first in their
conference. Man, West Ward 704.
Especially after how they started the season, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they went
there's one team you guys are leaving out though.
And I will say Hopewell because they made it to the playoffs for the first time in over a decade
and scored more points than they've scored in years. I mean,
those three, are the ones that stick out in my mind right now. Palisades, great season. They're steady. They're steady climbing.
I think Simmons is one of the best coaches. I think Simmons is one of the best coaches out there. I think he does a good job at starting a program, and he's very disciplined in what he does. He's one of the good ones out there.
Yeah. All right, Gary, last question since you're on the screen. There's a proposal that the NCHSAA Board of Directors is going to talk about this week, to allow schools with low participation or declining population to combine to form one team. We saw Cannon combine with Concord Academy, I think it was, and they formed a team years ago. So what do you think about that? Two NCHSAA schools saying we're going to combine to make a team in whatever the sport is.
I'm thinking of all the unintended consequences that can come out of this. It sounds good. Okay, everybody gets to participate.
No cutting. There's no cuts.
So there's no cuts. I would rather, if you had a school that had low participation, you let that kid go to the school that's closest to his own school.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I would rather see it that way than to say you take a school in South Charlotte that doesn't have a lot of participation and a school in North Charlotte, and then they have to combine. Now you got transportation issues.
Yeah, but I think a lot of places where this mostly is going to happen is going to be much smaller areas. But
I just say, if you got a school that has low participation, let those kids just go to the next closest school that has full participation.
All right.
I really don't like it at all, but if that's what they're going to do, that's
I don't know that they're going to do it. I know they're going to talk about it.
When I first saw, when you sent the script and I first saw it, the first thing I thought about was girls basketball. And I'm saying to myself, the way North Meck and Mallard Creek are loaded in girls basketball, you could combine all the other 18 CMS schools, girls basketball teams, and they couldn't beat North Meck or they couldn't beat Mallard Creek.
Yeah.
So this combining schools, that's what I thought about at first. I don't like it. Just send the kids. If a school doesn't have a program because of participation, then send the kid to the next closest school.
Okay.
But if you got 10 and 10 in basketball and you say, well, let's just put them together, I don't like that.
Okay. Hales.
I think one thing as coaches, we're kind of predisposed to think of, okay, what's the worst thing that happens if we do?
You are.
Whether that's a coach or a parent, I think that's the same thing. Like, what's the best thing that happens? What's the worst thing that happens?
Yeah.
When I see something like this, the best thing that comes out of this for me is a bunch of kids, or not a bunch, if it was a bunch, they wouldn't have to do this, but enough kids would get an opportunity to do something that we all love, that we all think is really important. They would get an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have. To look at the other side, like, is it, like, I already think, like, Gary, like you said, like, where I thought you were going is, well, what if Mallard Creek and North Meck decide they want to, join forces and get together? Because I think you would have people that would say, hey, how can we rig this to where we get, like, start to be able to put together these super teams? Because I think that's where we are, again, that whole.
Well, the proposal actually asked the association to come up with parameters where that type of thing would happen. And, I think you'd have a hard time selling somebody in North Meck and Mallard Creek have declining participation.
Right.
And not enough people put together a team.
No. And that's so based on that, like I said, I don't think that would happen.
In West Meck?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying people wouldn't try to kind of work around that or try to way to kind of work the system, but again, kind of off the worst case, best case, test. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Give kids an opportunity to play this game that's done so much for us that can help you in your life in so many different ways.
You know what would be easier, and of course, we have a Mecklenburg County centric mindset. But I'm saying, say if you just mentioned Berry or West Meck. Okay? If a kid say they want to play baseball and West Meck doesn't have enough players to play baseball,
that's a very real thing.
That could be a real thing. Then you allow that kid to just transfer schools. Period. Just go to a whole.
Okay, that brings into your transportation issue, though.
Well, they got to find their if I want to jump in.
Take the bus to West Meck, bro.
Well, here's the deal. Like, I think it should be open enrollment, and then you only have these buses to go to this place.
Open enrollment anyway.
Open enrollment, and then these are the places that bus. If you want to get bus transportation, this is exactly where you have to go to school at, because this is the parameter where the buses go. If you want to go to another school because they have a great wrestling program and you're a wrestler or whatever the case may be, or you want to be a part of this football program here, or you want to do something, and you don't live in that area, you have to provide your own transportation.
That's kind of how the Magnet work. That's kind of how the Magnet schools work now.
And all you have to do is you just provide. If someone's going strictly for just sports, you make it educational purpose. What you do is you just put parameters on there with the attendance. like everything is built in with a certain attendance rule. And so like everybody has to be at school to be able to participate. If you have so many days, then you're disqualified now to be involved in that sport. You could do certain things without having if you have a doctor's note, if it's unexcused absences when you get past this amount, whatever the case may be. But you would eliminate a lot of issues. And then, coaches have to do a lot better job. And then there'll be a lot more people fighting for certain jobs in coaching world. I mean, I think it fixes things, but, I'm not that guy.
I think it's a more of a targeted thing towards the smaller schools, but we'll see what the board decides to do. Dale, you have any thoughts on this policy?
Yeah, I think that the intent is not to create power programs, but to look at programs. And you mentioned an example of let's use your example of Berry and West Mecklenburg, because we do have low participating numbers in sports here in Charlotte. Now,
Olympic sports, yes.
Yeah, exactly, especially Olympic sports. And this gives the opportunity, exactly what Gary was saying is what they're proposing, is that you're allowing a kid that can't play at his school because his school doesn't have enough people to field a team. And thus you're allowing those kids, say you had 4 kids, say you had basketball. Let's say it was basketball because the numbers I can work out. So you got 4 kids that want to play basketball.
Right.
That's all you've got is 4 kids that want to play basketball. And you got another school that's nearby that's also got 4 kids that want to play basketball, or 5. Something like that. So now you would allow those 4 kids to play at that school. The problem with taking and having them transfer, Berry's a good example. People send their kids to Berry for a specific reason, the educational environment.
But they're not talking about transferring schools. This would just be for sports. You would still go
I know.
Berry and
but
play sports at West May.
The proposal here was made that should be done. No. And I say no, because parents are sending their kids to Berry and maybe other schools for educational purposes.
Right. And then I think parents would try to, if that were the case, they would try to abuse the system, because they would go to a school that's low performing and they say, well, I want to go play in West Charlotte for Sam Grant.
Exactly.
I don't know if they want to do that right now. I got to regain that trust.
But I do believe we need open enrollment. Period, because we got so much transfer going on.
Oh, Dale, you coming to my side of the fence? You're coming to my side of the fence?
Listen, no,
you arguing with me about this for
I
years.
Heard Friday night about that team apparently can't recruit enough. You don't know how many times I heard that Friday night. And instead of having to worry about this recruiting thing anymore, let's just have open enrollment. And
we chase recruiting so bad. Forsyth County's had open enrollment for years, and they have not exploded, and they still field teams, and they are not the dominant force in the universe. So I just think we need to do that. Start wasting so much time trying to find out what Sam's right guard is really living. I think that's
exactly.
Sam, I got a question for you, because I was asked this on multiple DMs and texts and everything. Langston, get Sam's thoughts on the West Charlotte Hough game and the future of West Charlotte. West Charlotte is going down the toilet, people are thinking.
Oh, absolutely not. In the Game of Thrones, sometimes that throne changes. And, West Charlotte Hough game didn't go as planned for us as West Charlotte. I think that we had our chances in the game. If you go back and really study the game, if we hit one of those plays and we get up early, it's a different thing. But when you start getting down 2 scores, when the punt happened over the snap, and it was, think about this if someone's offsides in an NFL game, you play the game and you just decline it, and we punted the ball well. But in high school, offsides, it's a dead ball penalty right now, and you had a punt again, and it did not go in our favor. So they were offsides, and we had to punt it again. And then obviously it snapped over his head, and then that's where it got him inside the red zone, and it was hard to hold him off there. And we were very close, very close. I would just encourage that we're going to get a lot better in the weight room. We are very young. Our seniors did a phenomenal job of taking us this far, and it just lets us know that where we got to go to the next step. But I think the future of West Charlotte is extremely bright. you got to stay together. There's something special about being a part of a West Charlotte program and winning here. It's different because you have so many different variables that go on. And I think that when you do rise up and we do rise up again together, that it'll be spectacular. It'll be it'll be a lot better than it was 2 years ago. We won it last year. Winning again in the future, if we stay together, would be a lot more. It won't be bittersweet as bad as it is right now.
Nobody's ever won 2 of those things in West Charlotte. Your final thoughts, if that was not your final thought.
Just I appreciate all the support this year from you guys. I know we got another show, but it's tough. It's tough coming on here after a loss. But like I said, I'll take it on the chin and things that we could have done better. But just kudos to this group. I have a lot of respect for Hales. I mean, Hales came here after his loss from Mooresville, and it made me think, you know what? I'm not calling in no sick day. Letting everybody know that I'm here, and they did a phenomenal job. They earned it. They did everything that they wanted to do. I wish they would have shook my hand at the end, but other than that, kudos to them. They won outright.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool of you to come on. I know some coaches. I mean, a lot of people were saying you wouldn't come on today, so that's pretty cool that you did. All right, so that wraps up our penultimate show. We'll be back next week, but our final show I think we're gonna do the final 3 Mr. Footballs next week. So we'll do that, and then we'll get ready for the state championship games. And I still think, Jim, that the 8A is gonna be on Thursday at 8. Y'all shoot me. That's what I think.
I hope so. I'm ready for it.
You hope so? I'm not hoping that. I'm just telling you.
I'm hoping for it.
Question for you though, Langston. Why would people be worried? I thought West Charlotte DNA is a little different. I thought we were built on resilience. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just telling you what the DMs I get in the text messages. I'm just telling you. I mean, Friday night they're like, "Where's Grinder on the show?" I say, "Grinder doesn't come on the show on road games. He has to take his kids home."
What do they want me to do?
I don't know,
good, man.
I don't know, but Hough is the Kings of the Queen City for this year, and we'll see what happens next
year.
year.
They're in Cornelius, but we'll give it to them. It's all good. That's all. We came up with a great thing.
Cornelius.
It is still 704. That is true. All right, but that is Cameron Williams, the guru in training. That is Sam Grinder, the 2-time state championship coach from West Charlotte. That's Dale Ross, the CMS historian. That's Jim West. Thank you so much, Jim, for coming on. Our Eastern correspondent, that's Gary Richmond, the long pants in the cold weather wearing former CMS coach. And that's the 3-time
trendsetter.
And that's the 3-time state championship. Ryan Hales.
Cold, man.
That's
and after 2.5 hours, we are finally done talking.
Finally.
I know.